Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
And a busy couple of days it is here on the Tyler Werner Show as the Philadelphia Eagles, rather active before the trade deadline, as they get Ajayi for all but a fourth-round draft pick that they give up to the Miami Dolphins for Ajayi. Kind of a bargain, to put it bluntly. Meanwhile, the Sixers and Flyers are both in action on this Wednesday night. And of course, Game 7 of the 2017 World Series. 6 games wasn't enough. It's going to a Game 7 between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Houston Astros. Meanwhile, we got one more Philadelphia Eagle game until the bye week. And I'm seeing this Eagles team handling this Denver Broncos team that doesn't have much of an offense at all, and going 8-1 into the bye week.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tyler Werner Show. And I'll tell you what, I see this Philadelphia Eagles team. Look, they didn't play their best against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. And they were a little banged up, of course, without Jason Peters now for the rest of the season. As well as Jordan Hicks, 2 big losses. The Eagles, they didn't really play their best, and yet they still won by 23 points. All right, even on the, all right, yeah, it was the 0-8 49ers. They started out a little sluggish. And at the end of the game, they still took it to them. They won the game easily. One of those games you could sit back in your rocking chair if you if you sit in a rocking chair, or have a rocking chair for that matter, and just watch the game, and watch the Eagles take care of business. Nothing to panic about or anything. So we were talking about last week on the Tyler Werner Show as well. Games remaining on the schedule that maybe won't go that way for you, where you can't sit back in your rocking chair and expect them to come out with an easy win on. I went down the rest of the schedule last week, and I want to go down other schedules on the Tyler Werner Show today of other teams in the NFC that I suppose could make a run at possibly being neck and neck with the Eagles and getting home field advantage. But I don't know. I did that with the Seahawks schedule last week, and besides the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know who else in the conference can really go toe-to-toe and finish with 12 wins. Not to mention, the Eagles, as far as I am concerned, they're not going to lose more than 3 games the rest of the way. There's no way. I don't see this Eagles team the way they're playing. And now, of course, the addition of Ajayi, that might certainly help the running game out a little bit. Hopefully, if he gets healthy, we'll get to more on that today. But this Eagles team should definitely not finish any worse than 12-4 at this point. I mean, am I right or am I right?
I agree.
They have a good chance at, dare I say it, but winning 13 games. And now we got to see what happens with the Ezekiel Elliott. I guess as of now, yesterday it was, I guess Ezekiel Elliott and the NFLPA had 24 hours. And I guess at this point, unless barring some kind of change yet again, Ezekiel Elliott's going to get suspended, miss 6 games, and quite frankly, miss an important part of the season. I mean, fantasy owners who own them are starting. I know they're starting to get concerned because, they might not have them until the championship week of their fantasy league. So, I mean, could that even... I don't know. Could that even throw a monkey wrench in the Dallas Cowboys season? Because I'll be honest with you, without Ezekiel Elliott out there, I mean, that puts more on Dak Prescott, and when Ezekiel Elliott has not been good, which is kind of once in a blue moon, but Dak Prescott hasn't been at his best. And Dak Prescott does not have to do as much. And their defense doesn't have to be as solid when you got Ezekiel Elliott out there carrying the football, getting you 150 yards, when you can control the clock and the pace of the game with him pretty well. Well, this is out of the New York Daily News. Speaking of him. Running back Ezekiel Elliott takes his case to federal appeals court in latest legal move. So he has asked them to let him play the Chiefs on Sunday while he continues fighting his 6-game suspension. Quite frankly, against the Chiefs, they could sure use him to match what they got with Kareem Hunt with Kansas City. Now, Elliott, whose bid for a stay was denied on Monday by Manhattan federal court judge Catherine Faella, I don't have this phone close enough, filed paperwork on Wednesday asking the U.S. Second Circuit Court of Appeals for a reprieve. Lawyers for the NFL Players Association, which reps Elliott, has filed paperwork with the Second Circuit on Tuesday indicating they would appeal. Unless the Second Circuit steps in, it will irreparably injure the reputation and career of a young professional football player. Irreparable harm is demonstrable. The NFL Players Association claims in court papers. The NFL Players Association is also asking the Second Circuit to expedite the appeal, as well as block Elliott's suspension while his appeal is pending. The NFL declined to comment. The NFL Players Association did not immediately respond to a request for comment. If the Second Circuit doesn't grant Elliott's emergency request, he is also likely to miss games against the Falcons, Eagles, Chargers, Washington, and the Giants. So, nothing official yet as far as the suspension getting halted yet again. So, I don't know. At very best, let's say, like even if Ezekiel Elliott doesn't get suspended, something happens, and he doesn't get suspended at all this season, there's no way this Dallas Cowboys team wins this division. At best, they split with the Eagles. And at very best, they already have 3 losses on the season. They lose one of them to the Eagles, that's 4 losses, and then they're going to lose somewhere else down the line. Obviously, I mean, that could be the Kansas City Chiefs this week, with or without Ezekiel Elliott. So, as far as the Eagles are concerned, I don't see how the Eagles lose more than 3 games the rest of the way. And with the way things are looking, yeah, maybe they lose to the Seahawks. But this Eagles team may very well finish 13-3, and at this point, I don't think that's a stretch at all. With this quarterback and with this defense, I mean, this front four especially. I mean, Fletcher Cox was an animal. I mean, the Eagles were maybe going to get Joe Staley. I mean, maybe there was something that was, I guess, maybe in consideration, perhaps. Like, can Vaitai hold his own in place of Jason Peters on the left side? Because Lane Johnson's going to stay at the right tackle position until further notice. As long as Vaitai can maybe hold his own. But, the Eagles were maybe going to go after Joe Staley. Plug him in there on the offensive line. Well, that didn't happen. Fletcher Cox, I guess he was going to potentially get suspended for this. It doesn't look like he's going to face any suspension now at this time. Over this, I guess, supposed hit that broke the orbital bone of Joe Staley at his eye. Or I don't know. He had blood running down or whatever on the sideline after the play. And I guess from video footage, there's not enough where it warrants a suspension. But I'm just wondering, how an injury like that would occur without Fletcher Cox striking him in some way. I don't know. There's something. If there's something we can't see or whatever. But inevitably, the Eagles would get Ajayi. Howie Roseman. I mean, it seems like the Dolphins wanted to get rid of him for not much at all, as the Eagles give up a 4th-round draft pick in the 2018 draft. Big whoop. That is a well-orchestrated deal by Howie Roseman. Most people love it. I don't. Some people are concerned because, why would they get rid of him for so little? And I mean, look, if that's, I don't know, and supposedly Adam Gase did it to send a message to the locker room or whatever. They're a rebuilding team. They're a mess this year. But with these, see, the thing is, the way I look at it, if he's got any kind of attitude problem or whatever, some people are concerned that, he might be a locker room cancer or something, who knows, and he's banged up right now. If he doesn't get enough carries, is he going to start, is he going to throw some temper tantrums? Well, look at it this way. When you're on a bad Miami Dolphins team that's struggling, and you're kind of struggling with injuries a little bit as well, a little banged up, but you're not getting the ball enough, and your team's losing, and you feel like, we're losing, and I'm not getting the ball enough, and that's a lot different than coming to the 7-1 Philadelphia Eagles, who maybe Super Bowl bound this year. And that's not, at this point, at this juncture, that's really not a stretch of the imagination, the way they're playing, the way things are setting up in the NFC for them. Totally different ball game. Here, you got a quarterback. And Carson Wentz said it himself, he's ready to roll with Ajayi. I think on Twitter he said to him and whatever. And I like this deal. What can you say? They got a great young quarterback. And now they got a pretty solid young running back. He was a stud in his first season. He's a little banged up. He's been a little up and down. Maybe here he'll put it together a little more. Maybe he's not going to get, as much of a workload per se as he did last year. I mean, in theory, going forward, I mean, he could have several years here as the number one running back. As far as LeGarrette Blount is concerned, I mean, this is one of these things, like, will he be here next year? Maybe does this push him a little harder? I don't know. Not that he's been bad. He hasn't been a highlight reel throughout the season, but he's been solid. But either way, if LeGarrette Blount's not here next year, you got Ajayi as your primary running back. You have Corey Clement. You have Wendell Smallwood still. And I guess Kenyon Barner. They drafted Donnell Pumphrey, too. I guess he's on the practice squad still. But, so this helps. You're not going to have Sproles next year. Unless he decides to come back for one more year. Season ended very prematurely, obviously, for him, unfortunately. Even though the team's been fine without him. But Ajayi, he's 24 years old. He should have several years of high-level football for him ahead of him. So, I mean, to me, I like this deal. Bring Ajayi here? Yeah.
It sounds great.
Sounds great to me. And it certainly sounded great to Howie Roseman. We're going to listen to Howie Roseman's press conference after this acquisition. As, again, they didn't maybe get the replacement offensive lineman that maybe some of us were thinking, maybe they should try and get. And, of course, Philadelphia Eagles' own Fletcher Cox may have spoiled getting Joe Staley. As great of a player as he's been on that front four this year. And as great as that, But, all right, they got Ajayi, Hey, that's great. So we'll hear from Howie Roseman then.
I mean, they're sexy, right?
And as I was saying, this Philadelphia Eagles team, they should head in this bye week 8-1. And besides the Seattle Seahawks, I don't see anybody else in this conference that is, I guess, elite, should I say. Now, I know the Minnesota Vikings right now are 6-2. They just beat the Browns. And they were fortunate the week before that Aaron Rodgers went down with that collarbone injury early. And they beat them. They sit at 6-2, I know. But with Case Keenum at quarterback, yeah, they might still win 11 games or something. They might win that division. But, I mean, I guess is possible wild card. I mean, we'll see who the wild cards would end up being. But regardless, don't expect them to make it past the divisional round. The Saints, they're starting to put it together a little bit. Gotta give them credit, but are they elite? I mean, they're maybe that one of those second-tier teams. The Falcons are having their struggles this season. Matty Ice is coming back down to earth a little bit. They're not quite the same. Carolina, I mean, they had a couple. They lost to the Eagles. They had a clunker against the Bears. They bounced back this week against the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers, they're not looking so good this year. They're taking a step back. Panthers are up and down. I don't know. They might get a wild card spot, but I don't know if they had. They just traded Kelvin Benjamin. They lost Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen went down. He was put on IR, and now they get rid of Kelvin Benjamin, another one of Cam's targets. I don't know. And the Rams, who were on a bye week this week, they're 5-2. I mean, I'm still not totally sold on them yet. That they're at. I mean, they might be decent. They might get in as a wild card team, but I don't think they're quite at the Eagles and Seahawks level at this point. And again, Green Bay, without Aaron Rodgers, they're out of the elite class, and they might not even make the playoffs now at this point. And the Cowboys, like I said, at best, it's even winning 11 games for them might be a stretch. They might be a 10-6 wild card team at best, but without Ezekiel Elliott, 6 games perhaps. They might have a little more trouble. They might not make the playoffs. And the Eagles might be the lone NFC East team in the playoffs this year, winning that division and getting home field advantage. I think that's how it might play out. We'll hit the first break here on the Tyler Werner Show. Come back on the other side. Break it down. Listen to some Howie Roseman. Listen to a little bit of Howie Roseman if you haven't heard the press conference from yesterday after getting the deal. If you're concerned, I mean, so maybe Howie Roseman kind of calm the waters a little bit for those that might be concerned about Ajayi's attitude on the field or this acquisition in general. We'll be right back after this on the Tyler Werner Show on this November 1st edition.
Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting. The word customer begins with CU. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.
Investigators are calling it the heist of the century. The grand robbery of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, committed by some apparently hungry NFL officials who love their balls.
When I came in Monday morning, I was shocked to learn of the news reports about the balls and the process that happened between when they were prepared and went to the officials and went to the game.
As shocked as Belichick was of the news, perhaps Brady, the last man out of the kitchen on that Sunday night, was even more shocked to hear of the news of the theft.
I have a process that I go through. It's the same process that I always go through. When I felt them, they were perfect. I mean, I wouldn't want anyone touching those. I would zip those things up and lock them away, and that's what I thought I was doing.
As Brady and Belichick upped the ante on their ball security, you'll just have to pick up a pack of their meatballs the next time you hit the grocery store and enjoy just how perfect these balls really are.
Tom's personal preferences on his ball security are something that he can talk about in much better detail than I could possibly provide.
Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
And a busy couple of days it is here on the Tyler Werner Show as the Philadelphia Eagles, rather active before the trade deadline, as they get Ajayi for all but a 4th-round draft pick that they give up to the Miami Dolphins for Ajayi. Kind of a bargain, to put it bluntly. Meanwhile, the Sixers and Flyers are both in action on this Wednesday night. And of course, Game 7 of the 2017 World Series. 6 games wasn't enough. It's going to a Game 7 between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Houston Astros. Meanwhile, we got one more Philadelphia Eagle game until the bye week, and I'm seeing this Eagles team handling this Denver Broncos team that doesn't have much of an offense at all, and going 8-1 into the bye week.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tyler Werner Show. And I'll tell you what, I see this Philadelphia Eagles team. Look, they didn't play their best against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. And they were a little banged up, of course, without Jason Peters now for the rest of the season. As well as Jordan Hicks, 2 big losses. The Eagles, they didn't really play their best, and yet they still won by 23 points. All right, even on the all right, yeah, it was the 0-8 49ers. They started out a little sluggish, and at the end of the game, they still took it to them. They won the game easily. One of those games you could sit back in your rocking chair if you if you sit in a rocking chair, or have a rocking chair for that matter, and just watch the game, and watch the Eagles take care of business. Nothing to panic about or anything. So we were talking about last week on the Tyler Werner Show as well. Games remaining on the schedule that maybe won't go that way for the, where you can't sit back in your rocking chair and expect them to come out with an easy win on. I went down the rest of the schedule last week, and I want to go down other schedules on the Tyler Werner Show today of other teams in the NFC that I suppose could make a run at possibly being neck and neck with the Eagles and getting home field advantage. But I don't know. I did that with the Seahawks schedule last week, and besides the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know who else in the conference can really go toe-to-toe and finish with 12 wins. Not to mention, the Eagles, as far as I am concerned, they're not going to lose more than 3 games the rest of the way. There's no way. I don't see this Eagles team the way they're playing. And now, of course, the addition of Ajayi, that might certainly help the running game out a little bit. Hopefully, if he gets healthy, we'll get to more on that today. But this Eagles team should definitely not finish any worse than 12-4 at this point. I mean, am I right or am I right?
I agree.
They have a good chance at, I mean, dare I say it, but winning 13 games. And now we got to see what happens with this Ezekiel Elliott. I guess as of now, yesterday it was, I guess Ezekiel Elliott and the NFLPA had 24 hours. And I guess at this point, unless barring some kind of change yet again, Ezekiel Elliott's going to get suspended, miss 6 games, and quite frankly, miss an important part of the season. I mean, fantasy owners who own them are starting. I know they're starting to get concerned because, they might not have them until the championship week of their fantasy league. So, I mean, could that even, I don't know, could that even throw a monkey wrench in the Dallas Cowboys season? Because I'll be honest with you, without Ezekiel Elliott out there, I mean, that puts more on Dak Prescott, and when Ezekiel Elliott has not been good, which is kind of once in a blue moon, but Dak Prescott hasn't been at his best. And Dak Prescott does not have to do as much. And their defense doesn't have to be as solid when you got Ezekiel Elliott out there carrying the football, getting you 150 yards, when you can control the clock and the pace of the game with him pretty well. Well, this is out of the New York Daily News. Speaking of him. Running back Ezekiel Elliott takes his case to federal appeals court in latest legal move. So he has asked them to let him play the Chiefs on Sunday while he continues fighting his 6-game suspension. Quite frankly, against the Chiefs, they could sure use him to match what they got with Kareem Hunt with Kansas City. Now, Elliott, whose bid for a stay was denied on Monday by Manhattan federal court judge Catherine Faella, I don't have this phone close enough, filed paperwork on Wednesday asking the U.S. Second Circuit Court of Appeals for a reprieve. Lawyers for the NFL Players Association, which reps Elliott, has filed paperwork with the Second Circuit on Tuesday indicating they would appeal. Unless the Second Circuit steps in, it will irreparably injure the reputation and career of a young professional football player. Irreparable harm is demonstrable. The NFL Players Association claims in court papers. The NFL Players Association is also asking the Second Circuit to expedite the appeal, as well as block Elliott's suspension while his appeal is pending. The NFL declined to comment. The NFL Players Association did not immediately respond to a request for comment. If the Second Circuit doesn't grant Elliott's emergency request, he is also likely, I don't know what else I have to say. The Falcons at the Seahawks. Seahawks should win that game. Falcons aren't anything special this year, and on the road, it's tough for them. Seahawks at the Niners the following week. It should be a win for the Seahawks. I don't see why not against the Niners. The Eagles at the Seahawks, I have them, the Seahawks winning that game. Following week, the Seahawks at the Jaguars. Jaguars tough defensively this year. Somewhat of an improved team. The Seahawks finally lose a game again. If they don't already at this point. But they'll lose to the Jaguars there. Rams at the Seahawks. Seahawks should win that. Seahawks at the Cowboys. Desperate Cowboys team at this juncture of the season. In Dallas, Seahawks lose that one. And then finally, to finish up, the Cardinals at the Seahawks. Seahawks finished 12-4. So that's, again, the Eagles finished 13-3. It's over. They win home field advantage. They get home field advantage no matter what. No, but the Seahawks aren't finishing 13-3. That's the bottom line.
I agree.
No, I guess we go down the Saints schedule on the other side, but we're going to play some Howie Roseman audio of this press conference from yesterday discussing the acquisition of Ajayi. I love the name. Let's listen to what Howie Roseman had to say.
Just really hoping I didn't have this opportunity again for a long time. Good to see you guys. Just wanted to start out saying on behalf of the Eagles organization, we were really sorry to hear about the sudden passing of Teo. Young guy gone too soon, so best to his family, thinking about him at this time. This morning we completed a trade with the Miami Dolphins. Ajayi is a Philadelphia Eagle. We're excited to add him to our team, to our running back collection. We think he's a good player who adds to our group. We're excited about that and having him here going forward. Questions? Are you done? It's 1:35 right now, and we're going to look at everything. That's our job, right, to do at this time. After today, it's kind of waiver wire and practice squad. So we're doing that, but without predicting the future, we feel really confident about our team and comfortable with where we're at.
Jay was the workhorse in Miami. Do you envision him having that role here?
We like our running back group. This was an opportunity that came to us that we thought was a good player who could add to our team, a young player who's under contract for the next couple of years. And at the same time, everyone's seen the way LeGarrett's run. Wendell's had really good games for us. Corey. We brought Kenyon back as well. So it just adds to the group, and all that stuff. Playing time is sorted out by the coaches, but LeGarrette continues to be our starter, and just really excited to have that group and add a good player.
There was a story in the Miami Herald, however, that this year he, even after wins, if he didn't get enough touches, he would get upset and cause friction in the locker room. Is that something you guys found out during your evaluation, and do you think that was isolated to that team and to that experience?
Yeah, we do a lot of research onto players before we trade for them. Not only do we do a lot of research for a guy like this before when he comes out in the draft, but we do that here before we make a deal. And really, in this league, you do business with people that you trust, and we feel like we have a good understanding of what was going on there, and we also have a good understanding of what we have in our locker room and the chemistry that we have on this team. And we weren't going to bring anyone here that would disrupt team chemistry, and we feel very confident and comfortable about the player.
There were reports out of Miami that the Dolphins were concerned about his knees and his long-term health. How extensive did you guys look at that, and what's your level of comfort with his knees?
Yeah, the beautiful thing is that we do physicals on players, and I'm not a doctor, and we have a lot of faith in our medical staff and our trainers and doctors, and we share that information before we make a trade like this. And I'm not concerned about any reports other than the ones given to us.
Did you say LeGarrette
Why did you feel the need to go after a running back at the deadline?
Yeah, again, I don't think we felt compelled to do anything here. We thought this was a good opportunity to improve our football team, not only this year but going forward.
Did you say LeGarrette would remain the starter, and if so, why is that the case?
Well, Garrett's been productive when he's gotten the ball. He's a warrior. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion, and we're really glad to have him. So, I really shouldn't get into kind of starter roles. So that's really up to the coaches, but we're counting on LeGarrette here going forward. This is no reflection of any of those running backs. This was a good opportunity for the Philadelphia Eagles, and our job is to add good players who fit what we do, and we believe that Ajayi does that.
At 7-1, it's clearly at 7-1, it's clearly a rare opportunity. How much did that motivate you to be active at this point?
Well, I think you take into account where you are. It's certainly different when you're 7-1 than if you're having a losing season. But at the same time, we're not going to do anything that puts us in a bad spot going forward. Again, a big part of this trade is the fact that there's a 24-year-old back who's not just on a one-year deal. But if there are opportunities to improve our team and improve where we're at, we have a responsibility to the people on the field, the people off the field, our fans, to evaluate everything. And that's our job, and that's what we've been doing here really throughout the course of the season.
How long did this trade come about here? Was this something that happened quick right at the deadline? Was this something that you guys have been in communication about for a while?
Yeah, so we still have some time before the deadline here, but it came together fairly quickly yesterday, and I think that's a testament to the relationship we have with the Dolphins organization and kind of the trust that goes back and forth on both sides. And we saw the player. We had the player here in Philadelphia on our field, and he's one of those guys that when we came back after those practices, we said, that's our kind of guy. He's got the mentality that we're looking for. He brings the kind of presence, and he plays the kind of way that we want to play and that we want to represent our football team with and our fans with. So we had done work on him. That's one of the benefits to having these practices, these scrimmages. And, so when the opportunity came about, we had done our homework.
Jay,
His numbers have dipped from last year. Just watching the film, what have you seen for the reasons for that?
Well, I think you look at the Chargers game and the Falcons game, and you could argue he put the team on his back. That's this season. Obviously, last year he had a tremendous year, 1,249 yards, averaging almost 5 yards a carry. But this is a physical downhill running back who can pick up yards after contact. He can make people miss. He had 52 catches his junior year at Boise. Again, 24 years old. But when you watch him, if there's an alley, he's getting something, and he's going to impose his will on defenders. So,
all right. So there's what Howie Roseman had to say about in essence, about the Ajayi trade that was made, and yeah, he was a guy that they saw in these practices, joint practices in the preseason, and they like him. They're not Howie Roseman. They're not concerned about the whole, disturbing of the culture. And I don't know why. I don't know why they would be. I mean, he's coming here where this is a winning cult. This is a team that has a very realistic chance to go to the Super Bowl this year. This is a team that has more of a future than the Dolphins do right now. And this is a team that in the future can rely on him more. Maybe when LeGarrette Blount, maybe he's not here next year. I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with LeGarrette Blount being here as well, but again, he was a short-term contract guy. It was a short-term deal. You weren't sure what he would maybe had left this year. He still has something left in the tank. But here, Ajayi, he's got several years. In theory, that you can build with him. You can have him here. And, again, in Miami, they're kind of a mess right now. The Eagles aren't. Winning cures everything. This is kind of the old saying goes. If he's not getting a great workload, I mean, what's it going to say? Oh, we're winning. We're winning. That's really, at the end of the day, what it's all about. All right, we're going to hit the last break here on the Tyler Werner Show. Come back, top 5 thoughts around the NFL. Week 8 edition would be already. We're now in the month of November. Hard to believe. Another Halloween in the books. And here we are, mid-season in the NFL. It's the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back with more after this on the Tyler Werner Show.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyberstalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen and Company to bust these online cyberstalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that? I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted! It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it, or not. You can choose to panic about your situation, or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
And we return on the Tyler Werner Show, the November 1st edition here in the fall of 2017. Again, Sixers in action tonight. I know a lot. In football, the Eagles, they're just rolling this town this fall. That's the bottom line. But the Sixers, of course, they're not going to pick up the fourth-year option here with Jahlil Okafor, fourth year of his rookie contract, and he's set to be an unrestricted free agent. And unless some kind of they do some kind of trade to move him, which was speculated to maybe have happened already, like a couple times in the last year or so. It's never happened, but so
trust the process.
Yeah, that's where the Sixers are at. The Sixers hosting the 1-6 Atlanta Hawks tonight. And they should take care of business. Sixers starting to put it together a little bit, if you will. Starting to put together a couple of wins. Of course, on Monday. After that heartbreaker last Wednesday to the Houston Rockets, they this time deliver a bit of revenge at Houston, picking up a 115-107 win. That's what you want to see. Sixers beat a decent team there. And Atlanta Hawks, they should hopefully have no trouble with tonight. Markelle Fultz continuing to battle this shoulder injury, I guess. It's unfortunate because this could be just like last year. They shut him down. So I don't know. So Dario Saric, he hasn't been quite as effective out there with Ben. It doesn't seem like he knows how to play with Ben Simmons. It doesn't seem like he knows exactly what he's doing as much. But nevertheless, seems like the Sixers, they should put a win together tonight. And hopefully, for the most part, they stay healthy and break into the playoffs this year. That's all you can really say at this point. Sixers.
I agree.
Flyers traveling to Chicago tonight to take on the Blackhawks. At this juncture, Flyers are 1 win over 500. Blackhawks are 500. Let's see where that goes. And like I said, this weekend the Eagles, I think they should. They're already an 8-point favorite, I believe. Last I heard from Vegas. Von Miller, I guess, said they're gonna, they're gonna beat the Eagles, and I fine, whatever. I mean, you might want to try to score some points and not turn the ball over 5 times on offense, but I know Von Miller doesn't play offense. But they don't have much of an offense, and they were really turnover prone against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night. Against this Eagles team that is pretty good at getting to the quarterback and forcing turnovers, might expect that trend to continue a little bit.
Interception. Now our side's got the ball. Sorry.
So that's kind of how I see it playing out a little bit. I don't think the Eagles are going to have to score a tremendous amount of points to win this game. But that's just me. And of course, World Series action. It all comes down to Game 7. The LA Dodgers and the Houston Astros. I mean, that you had that 5-hour plus epic the other night, 13-12 win, and then last night the LA Dodgers, Chase Utley getting the winning run for the Los Angeles Dodgers to force a Game 7. How about that? It'll all be decided tonight in the 2017 Major League Baseball World Series. All right. Well, with all that said, it is time, as we always do during NFL football season, to go around the NFL with my top 5 thoughts of the week in the NFL in Week 8 already it is. Week 8 edition of this segment, as we're now in the month of November. Thanksgiving is just a few weeks away. I'm looking forward to that, as I always do. And so, we go around the NFL, top 5 thoughts of games in Week 8 it was. And we're going to start with the Dallas Cowboys, who definitely got an important division win, I should say, in their game against the Washington Redskins. Ezekiel Elliott, showing why he's a focal point of this offense. And again, Dak Prescott, he didn't, what did he throw for, like 120 yards? He didn't have to throw for much of anything, really. As this Cowboys team controlled the game at Washington, won 33-19. And if they want to stay, at least in the wild card race, without Ezekiel, that was definitely a big win for the Dallas Cowboys. Number 4 thought around the NFL this week was the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football, putting together another win. They're now 6-2. This one against the Detroit Lions, 20-15. Lions started out the season pretty well. They're starting to lose a lot of games. That's not looking good for them. Juju Smith for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 7 receptions, 193 yards, and a touchdown. Field day for him. Number 3 thought around the NFL in this week of football action. The Buffalo Bills. Big 34-14 win. They're now 5-2. Right behind the New England Patriots in that division. Shady McCoy goes off in this game, has around 150 yards on the ground and a touchdown. They were really cooking with gas this game, and the Raiders, they're a mess this year. They're now 3-5, and again, that just makes this what was originally thought of a tough game on Christmas evening for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not looking like a tough game anymore, that's for sure. Number 2. Number 2. This is off the cuff. Number 2 thought around the NFL this week was none other than the Kansas City Chiefs getting an important division win. After losing 2 games straight, they bounce back and defeat the Denver Broncos 29-19, as I just mentioned. And the Chiefs are now 6-2, pretty well in command of this division again at this juncture. And again, they're right there right now at the Patriots at 6-2, who they beat week 1 of the season. They're right there with the Pittsburgh Steelers at 6-2 as well. Number 1 thought around the NFL this week, though, How about that shootout with the Seattle Seahawks and the Houston Texans? That's something I'm not used to saying in regards to those two teams. Maybe, maybe not so much the Seahawks especially, but both these teams have been known in recent years for their vaunted defenses. What defense is this game? Both quarterbacks throwing for over 400 yards. I have both of them on my fantasy team. I picked up Deshaun Watson with the season he's been having. I dropped Matt Ryan and picked up Deshaun Watson. And I had Russell Wilson initially as my second string quarterback, but he gave me 35 points this week. And for that, I thank you, Russell Wilson, for the field day you had with over 400 yards, several touchdowns, and then, of course, he gets it done with his legs at times, too. 41-38, though. Enough of individual statistics. This was a shootout. It came down to the wire, and the Seahawks came out on top to move to 5-2, while the Texans fall to 3-4. Big win for the Seahawks. Again, they would have lost that game. I mean, imagine what kind of shape the Eagles would be in if the Seahawks lost that game. I mean, they'd be the Seahawks would be 5-3 at that point. And not like it's a bad record, but the Eagles would be 2 wins ahead of them. I mean, they didn't lose the game, so, it is what it is. But that really would have put the Eagles' chances of getting home field advantage. That really would have boosted their chances. But the Seahawks remain strong. So, all right, let's take a look at other, just to, kind of mid-season standings right now in the NFL. We got the Seahawks at 5-2, Eagles at 7-1. The Vikings are, of course, at the top of that division at 6-2, but with Case Keenum, I mean, really, they've benefited from, they just played the Browns for one thing, and the obvious misfortunes of the Green Bay Packers, losing Aaron Rodgers probably for the season. I guess there's a slight chance he could come back in, like, if they make the playoffs or maybe the last game or so of the season, but I don't, come on. Chances are still looking pretty slim on that. Besides that, the Lions are struggling now. They're 3-4. So much for having the highest paid quarterback in the league, Matt Stafford. Rams, of course, at 5-2. How for real are they? They're good. Might get a wild card this year, but I can't put them in the same elite status as the Seahawks and Eagles. The Saints, they've won 5 games in a row after starting 0-2. I didn't even know that it was 5 straight wins. Their defense has improved this year. I will say that. Panthers at 5-3. And the Falcons at 4-3 right now. Could the Falcons be having that post-Super Bowl year hangover that a lot of teams have? That maybe some people thought the Patriots were having, but the Patriots have been looking pretty good as of late, if I do say so myself. So, yeah.
No days off!
Saints, right now, at 5-2, who do they got? They got the Buccaneers just hosting them. They should win that, move to 6-2. The week after that, they travel to the Bills, and that might be a loss, my friends. The Dome Team Saints traveling to what might be a pretty cold afternoon in Buffalo. And, of course, Buffalo playing pretty well. Week after that, the Redskins at the Saints. Saints should win that to move to 7-3. Yeah, 7-3. The week after that, the Saints travel to the West Coast to take on the Rams. Might be a loss there. I think that might be a 7-4. Following week, the Panthers at the Saints. Give up the Saints a win there, 8-4. Week after that, the Falcons host the Saints. I think those two teams will split. So that's a 5th loss there for the Saints, I believe, 8-5. Jets at the Saints. Saints should win that, 9-5. Saints host the Falcons, revenge situation. They should. Saints should move to 10-5 there, and then the very last week of the season they travel to the Buccaneers. At this juncture, I would say that's most likely a win and sweep the Buccaneers. Saints finish 11-5. At best, they finish 11-5. So there you have it. Eagles should get home field advantage. I'm not worried about the Vikings at all with Case Keenum at quarterback. But just for the heck of it, let's look at their schedule quick before we end this edition of the Tyler Werner Show. At the Redskins this week. I mean, that could be a loss. A desperate Redskins team. I don't know. The following week, the Rams at the Vikings. That's a good matchup. And then the Vikings at the Lions the following week. Say they lose one of those games. Then the following week, Vikings at the Falcons. Falcons probably win that. So that's 2 more losses for the Vikings. And then the Vikings at the Panthers. That could be another loss there. Then last 3 games for them. Bengals at the Vikings. Vikings should win. Vikings at the Packers. I don't know. Could be a tough game, even though no Aaron Rodgers, because it's a revenge situation, and it's at Green Bay. And finally, Bears at the Vikings. Vikings should lose probably 3 more games. Their stretch coming up is a little tough. They shouldn't finish better than 11-5. They might finish 10-6. So this Eagles team, I feel comfortable today saying they will get home field advantage in the NFC. That's the bottom line. That's the way I see it. How do you see it? Post your thoughts on the Tyler Werner Show. I'm not. It's not one of those things like, we didn't expect much out of this season. Let's not jinx them or anything. Come on. It's a new regime, new quarterback. And I guess, to a lesser extent, new running back in Ajayi on the Philadelphia Eagles. And a new additional running back. Not like they lost anybody. Not like they got rid of any running backs, but I think you know what I mean.
It sounds great.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you for tuning into the Tyler Werner Show. We will talk to you next time, as we will be then heading into the bye week. We'll be talking, I guess, bye week, and hopefully, another Eagles win for the Eagles to move to 8-1 on the season. Never thought I'd be saying that this Eagles team should go into their bye week 8-1, but nevertheless, that is what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen.
Who's saying it?
Stay tuned for next week on the Tyler Werner Show, and have a great weekend.